Harihi Om. Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryan Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastama Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. So now we find that on the Pandava's side, there's so many kings have come to Virat, and on Duryodhana's side, that also so many kings have come, and now it's just awaiting for the final discussion before the battle, because there always has to be, before war, then you always have the idea of conciliation, because on the Pandava's side they'll be thinking, well, maybe he'll adjust and give them the kingdom back or something, and of course on Duryodhana's side then may think, oh well, they see we're so powerful in that they'll just give up. So Drupad then he discussed with everybody that his ambassador, a nice qualified Brahmin, would go and discuss with them and possibly try to arrange a peace settlement. Drupad said, I'll go myself, but he said, if I go, then definitely there are not going to be any proper agreements. But if a qualified Brahmin goes, then they might respect that, and he might be able to sway them. So in any case, Duryodhana is not planning on any agreement can become. He wants to have war because he's very confident. He has so many people. He'll go up and very quickly just finish up. The war is over, and then the kingdom is his. Drupad's priest arrived at Hastinapur soon after the troops had assembled. He approached the city from a distance. He saw soldiers camped everywhere, like masses of clouds descended to earth. Entering Hastinapur, he made his way through the crowds and came to Dhritarashtra's palace, where the king himself, along with Bhishma and Vidura, received him. They brought him straight to the royal court. After worshipping him with arghya and other offerings, they invited him to address the assembly. Looking around at the many kings and ministers seated in Dhritarashtra's great hall, the priest spoke. As you all know, Dhritarashtra and Pandu are brothers. Therefore, their claim to their paternal kingdom is equal. No one doubts this to be true. Yet, although Dhritarashtra's sons have inherited their share of the kingdom, the Pandavas have been denied theirs. Dhritarashtra's sons wrested the Pandavas' kingdom and wealth, which they had fairly acquired through the practice of virtue. Even before that, the Kauravas attempted to kill their honest cousins in different ways. Because the Pandavas' life duration has not expired, the Kauravas were unsuccessful in their attempts. Despite all this, Yudhishthira bears no ill will towards them. He has accepted all tribulations without complaint. Now he wishes only to have his rightful property returned. Although he has suffered the severest miseries in this court, in the forest, and at Virat, he does not long for war. The priest paused and looked at Dhritarashtra. The blind king shifted uncomfortably in his throne, because what he's spoken up to now is all very true, and he's spoken it very nicely. He's presented it very well, that he started off with something they agree with, that here, this is the, Dhritarashtra Pandu are brothers, so naturally then they have equal right to the throne, and, Dhritarashtra's sons got their half of the kingdom, but they took away Yudhishthira's, so, this is not right, and that's the whole point. Kings are supposed to work on justice. Kings are supposed to establish justice. So he's trying to bring out that element to them. And then not only that, it's not that Yudhishthira had done something wrong. No, he had his kingdom. He had got that through his own virtue. And that was taken away from them. So, and even though it was taken away, they've suffered, as he mentioned, in the court, in the forest, and in Virat. Still he bears no ill will and doesn't wish to fight. He just wants his kingdom back. That's all. The priest paused. Shafts of sunlight entered through the latticed windows, illuminating his pained expression. By his side, Bhishma and Vidura slowly shook their heads, remembering again the terrible day when the Pandu's sons had been sent away. They looked intently at the priest as he continued. Right? Because Dhritarashtra, even though he knows it's right, and that's what should be done, but at the same time, his son is so intent on not giving anything, and he has such attachment for his son, that he doesn't want to disappoint his son, even though that may be, the consequences aren't good. And he knows that. But at the same time, he's hoping that, well, it's wrong that they took away their kingdom, but they got it anyway. So maybe, even if Duryodhana does behave badly, maybe it'll still end up all right. He's just hoping against hope. So the priest continued. The Pandavas wish for a peaceful settlement. They do not want to gain back what is theirs by ruining the world, right? Because by this war, the whole world is shown up, right? Forgetting their troubles these last 13 years, they are prepared to live in friendship with their cousins. But their kingdom must be returned, right? It's not that they're just going to just swallow it, no. They have gathered 7 Akshauhinis and prepared them for battle. Although you have a greater force, you should not consider yourselves more powerful. The Pandavas have Krishna on their side, who possesses inconceivable power. They are also assisted by Drupad, Pandya, Drishtadumna, Shikandi, and other mighty monarchs. Each of the Pandava brothers is a Maharatra capable of contending with vast armies single-handedly. Arjuna alone exceeds the strength of your entire army. O descendant of Bharata, what man would dare face Dhananjaya when he comes out to fight, his chariot guided by the immortal Keshava? Therefore, act according to virtue. Give back what should be returned. Do not miss this opportunity, right? Because he has the opportunity now, Dhritarashtra. Give him back the kingdom, everyone stays. Duryodhana is going to be upset, but at least Duryodhana is alive and they go on and live their life. But if they have this war, then because they are actually wrong, then it's going to end up that there's going to be nobody left. Pandavas will be left, but nobody else. And that means Dhritarashtra will be alone, all that things, and this will all happen, just within a few days. It's not like they don't have wars like the modern warfare, you drag it off for year after year. No, this is this, they go in there, fight fully to their best, and then the best man is left standing. That's the way they work. The assembly remained silent when the priest had stopped speaking. Everyone's eyes turned towards Dhritarashtra, right? So before is that we saw Dhritarashtra is hearing, they're all hearing, but he's shifting uncomfortably because he's thinking about it. But they're still watching the priest because he's speaking. Once the priest finishes, as he says, now they'll all turn to Dhritarashtra. What does he say? It was up to him to respond. The Kuru monarch said nothing. Duryodhana smiled and glanced at Karna. This old priest was wasting his time. They had an army almost twice the size of the Pandavas' forces. He means almost twice. 11 means it's 1.5 times, you could say. A little more than that. Where was the question of surrendering anything to Yudhishthira? The Kaurava prince looked around the assembly at the silent kings and ministers, right? Because he's thinking, why should we, our army's bigger, but it was pointed out by the king who is on the other side. So it's not that just they have some armies, but who's on the other side? Bhishma broke the silence. He thanked and praised the priest with gentle words, right? Because to come into that assembly under the aspect of war, he could consider it dangerous, but no, they're respecting him. Then he said, O learned one, it is fortunate that the Pandavas are doing well and that they have secured the assistance of many kings. It is especially fortunate that Damodar, Krishna, has taken their side. It is fortunate indeed that they desire to act virtuously and that they wish for peace. You have spoken the truth. Your words are sharp, in keeping with your status as a Brahmin, right? Because the Brahmin should speak truth. He's spoken it, you see, very pleasantly, but it doesn't mean that the points he's making are not exact and sharp. But he didn't say anything in an excited mood or an angry mood or using bad language or rough language. He spoke it very eloquently, but very exact. All the Pandavas have borne many troubles and are certainly entitled to their father's wealth. Not even the holder of the thunderbolt can keep that from them, right? What to speak of those bearing the bow, right? So he's kind of subtly hinting also the point that if they can defeat the demigods, then why would somebody of the earthly realm, the mortal realm, why would they be able to defeat Dhananjaya, right? There's little doubt, as you say, that Arjuna alone can defeat our army. He stood against the three worlds. Right? He went out and defeated the demigods themselves. Couldn't defeat the Nivatakavachas. He went out and defeated them. Plus another group that they couldn't defeat. They just happened to be passing by at the time. Without looking at Bhishma, Karna sprang to his feet, catching Duryodhana's eye. Right? Because he wants to, see the Duryodhana's, because he's going to speak on Duryodhana's behalf, so he wants to, catch his eye. Okay, now I'll say something. He barked at the priests, insolently interrupting Bhishma. Right? So that's the thing, is that they have no culture here. Even though, they're there, Bhishma has to be respected by them all. Bhishma speaking, he may not like, but you let him finish, and then afterwards you say, yes, the old man here spoke so many things, but there's these considerations. No, but they just always do it. They behave badly because they see the Dhritarashtra. He doesn't stop them. Oh Brahman, you waste your time. Yudhishthira was fairly defeated and went to the forest in accordance with his vow. Right, with accordance with his vow. He was fairly defeated. Okay, but now he's back. I do not believe that the prescribed term has even ended. In his mind, it's there's still another 257 years left. Whatever it is that he thinks. Because in his mind, he went out, he was going to fight, he was going to defeat, but then everybody said, no, it's actually, the time's up. So he still doesn't believe it. Why then are the Pandavas demanding their kingdom? Because he says, it's not time yet. Duryodhana will not yield even an inch of land out of fear, but out of virtue he could give them the entire earth. Right? Out of fear, as you're saying, you're coming, we have 7 Akshauhinis, you're this one, that one. Out of fear, he won't yield anything. Even though you do see that when Arjuna alone came out and attacked, just split the cows off from the army, he ran back to the other half of the army. He didn't stand and fight there. No, he ran back. That was his first. Then later he came out, but he was defeated. He was defeated twice. And Karna was defeated twice in the same day. And the whole army was defeated. Right? So, but because they're attached, these kind of logical points don't sit with them. They don't believe them because they feel what they feel is, their feeling is that their desire should be accomplished. They don't look at the reality. Let the Pandavas first keep their vow and then come humbly before Duryodhana, who will doubtlessly afford them refuge. If they desire to abandon righteousness and seek battle, however, they will meet only grief. Right? So now he's pointing out they're actually supposed to be in the forest. Because his point is, no, they were supposed to be in the forest. We found out who they are. They're supposed to be back in the forest. But if they want, they can humbly come before. But Kshatriyas don't do that. So you see Karna all the time, he's always trying to insult. Because he, being a Sutta, Duryodhana is the only one that accepts him as such, as a Kshatriya. I mean, technically he is a Kshatriya, but his character said everybody else doesn't like that. So therefore he always tries to see that others are insulted and humbled. He feels that. He tries to make others that way. Right? So it's like, and then he says if they want to abandon their righteousness and seek battle, and then he's making, if you want, if you want, in other words, Duryodhana is starting the whole war. He's not far, but if you want to give up righteousness and have a war, then it's on your head. You'll always find the criminal mind always tries to put it on your head. They're doing something wrong that has consequences. Then they say, if you do this, then this will happen, and it will be all your fault. No, why are you here in the first place? Why did you have the gambling match? Why did you take everything away? Why aren't you giving it back now like you promised you would in the beginning? What about that point? But they always say, no, it's you. So that's it's just the standard demoniac mentality. Karna glared at the assembly. Both he and Duryodhana refused to accept that the Pandavas had fulfilled their vow. It means astrologically, they just don't accept it. Because they were supposed to find them. Right? They knew there was only 2 weeks left in their mind. But still, now this is afterwards. This is some weeks later, right? And they're still saying, no, 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 it's not over yet. Like that, because their thing is, we're going to find him, send him back to the forest. They didn't find him. They didn't send him back to the forest. And not only that, they were all dead. They did not believe that Bhishma's astronomical calculations were correct. According to their own estimations, there were a few months left, right? So in their mind, it's not even time yet, and we found you. Duryodhana would not even consider negotiating with the Pandavas. So it's just like, even if it was over, he still wouldn't. The prince nodded in agreement as his friend spoke. Bhishma turned to Karna. O son of Radheya, right? So now this is where he brings out, because he didn't behave pure. Kshatriya's respect, and he's the senior most, right? And so therefore he says, O son of Radheya. He doesn't call him Karna. He doesn't call him the king of Anga. He doesn't call him the friend of Duryodhana. He calls him the son of a charioteer. Right? Why do you talk so much? Do you not recall how during the fight in the Matsya kingdom, Arjuna single-handedly defeated all of our principal warriors, including you, right? Twice. He doesn't say it, but you have seen his prowess often enough. Even we do not know what this Brahman says. Even we do not know. If we do not do what this Brahman says, we will all be killed. That's his point. Because if we go to war, we're all dying. It's not a matter of, and basically the only one in this assembly that won't be dead, right, it will be Dhritarashtra. Right? Basically everybody else will be dead. Some of the kings present agreed with Bhishma, while others praised Karna. Right, because the Kshatriya shows prowess and all that, but he's also supposed to use intelligence. That's the point of Bhishma. The hall buzzed with voices, and Dhritarashtra raised his hand for silence. He rebuked Karna and then solaced Bhishma. Then he addressed the assembly. In my opinion, Bhishma has spoken well. He speaks for our interests and for the interests of the entire world. Because, see, Duryodhana is just looking at it. It's just a kingdom thing between him and the Pandavas. But what he's not actually calculating is that the armies of the whole world are there, and none of them will go back. I mean, not one man will go back. So he's not caring about the war. As a Kshatriya, he's supposed to protect the citizens. But by this war, there will be no kings left to manage the planet. They'll all be killed in this battle. And so then that will just perfectly play into the hands of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is then ready for, where are the righteous people to maintain justice? I need time to deliberate. Let the assembly be adjourned. O Brahman, go back to the Pandavas and tell them that I shall send Sanjaya soon with my reply. Means he wants to think about it, because for Duryodhana, we'll just go to war, we'll beat them and all that. But Bhishma has spoken and says, no, we took out a big army, not even just a small, big army, just to, make a point. And Arjuna alone defeated him. And that was with this boy driving, who was a good charioteer. But if they have this battle, Krishna's the charioteer. And not only that, Krishna being the Supreme Lord, whatever he desires, that happens. So if he's supporting the Pandavas, the other side is finished. It's just, that's it. Like that. That's why Balaram said, Krishna's already chosen sides, I'm not getting involved. Because why support? It's already done. They're already defeated. After the priest had been worshipped by Dhritarashtra's court, Brahmins, he left the assembly. Everyone then returned to their own abodes, leaving Dhritarashtra alone with his personal servants. The blind king pressed his hands together. There was no doubt that Bhishma had spoken wisely, as he always did. He always gave good advice, but his attachment, he couldn't follow it. But this is now a little more. They're going to war. And in this case, it was just a matter of saving the cows. And so that and stopping that their attack of the kingdom at Virat. But if he actually wanted to kill, the only reason he didn't kill Duryodhana and his brothers is because Bhishma had vowed to. Otherwise, right at that time, he would have already killed them. Like that. Dhritarashtra could not ignore his assessment of the situation. especially when it was shared by Vidura, Drona, and Kripa. These were all learned and virtuous men. To dismiss their opinion was a perilous course. Now they were imploring him to control Duryodhana and return Yudhishthira's kingdom to him. So that he knew this was correct, and that's what these great personalities are saying. So now we will see what is his final decision. Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki